Once you have a login with Canada.ca, you can go ahead and start your express entry application. Now to do that, you can go to Canada.ca, click on English or French. We are English. Go down to Immigration and Citizenship. And then you can see you can either do My Application, or you can say sign in or create an account to apply online. Now, if you have not created an account yet, click here as well. Otherwise, you can sign in by clicking right here. You have two options to log into your account with the IRCC. You can either use the GC key login, or you can do it with a partner like a Canadian bank. So if you are currently already in Canada and you have an online bank account, you can use this login here. If you don't and you're from outside of Canada, or like me, I've had a profile before I came to Canada, you can use the sign in with GC key. If you do not have an account yet, you can go to register and follow the process there. I already have an account, so I'm going to sign in with GC key. Click on that, and then it will ask you to insert your username and password. So you can insert the username that you used when you created your account, as well as the password. And click sign in. Now, if you do not have an account yet, you can always click here to sign up. Otherwise, click sign in. And it will say, welcome, you last signed in on this date at this time, and then what you can do from this page. And then to help protect your information, please remember to sign out and close your browser before leaving this computer unattended. And then it says, please select continue to return to the Government of Canada online services. So if you have any of these things that you want to do, you can click on those links. Otherwise, you can say continue. Then they have terms and conditions that you can read through. If you are happy and you accept them, you can say click on I accept. And then you set up a few questions when you created your profile, your login profile. And one of these questions will pop up just to make sure that they are dealing with the correct person. It's your identity validation. So make sure you insert the answer here that you used when you signed up your account. And if you're happy with your answer there, you can say continue. And then it will show the applications that you've submitted before, and you can continue an application that you started but you haven't submitted yet, or you can go down to apply to come to Canada. This includes applications for your visitor's visa, your work or study permit. If you want to proceed with your express entry profile, then you can click apply to come to Canada, and then it will say personal checklist, personal reference code. So if you have done this process already, then please enter your personal reference code to begin your application. So you can include your code right here and say continue. If you don't have a reference code, you may answer a series of questions to find out if you are eligible to apply for a visa or a permit, to apply for the express entry, and begin an online application. So if you begin with the application after you have logged into your account, you will not receive a personal reference code, as the system will save your document checklist right into your account. To determine your eligibility and apply online, you can decide which one you are applying for. Are you applying for a visitor visa, study and/or work permit, the express entry, or the International Experience Canada? We are proceeding with the express entry application, so click right on express entry EE. find out if you're eligible to apply. So they're going to ask you a few questions throughout, and you just give the best answer and make sure that you include all of the correct information, because at the end you will sign that you've given the correct information and submit. So which province or territory do you want to live in? If you don't know yet, choose the province or territory you are most interested in. This is a definite requirement, so you have to select one. We are currently in British Columbia and we would like to stay here. So we're going to select British Columbia and click Next. Then the next question is, Canada's official languages are English and French. You need to submit language test results for all programs under Express Entry, even if English or French is your first language. So you need to go and do an IELTS test, the IELTS test, and get marks for that. So that is the information that you are going to complete right over here. So they say, make a selection. You're going to decide which test you completed. You can do the IELTS, the CELPIP, the TEF, the TCF. There are other videos that you can look at to see how to register and complete your IELTS registration and to proceed with your test. So choose which one you have done. I have done the IELTS and click on Next. What date did you take this test? So on your IELTS result report, you will get the exact date. So make sure that you select the year, the month, and the day, and click Next. They want to know your score for speaking, for listening, for reading, and for writing, and click Next. Then they're going to ask you, do you have other language results? Which language test did you take for your second official language? So if you have done your IELTS or any other of these tests for French, then you can proceed with this. If you haven't done that, you just say none and click Next. In the last 3 years, how many years of skilled work experience do you have in Canada? Please note that it is in Canada. You must have been full-time or an equal amount in part-time. So if you had any experience in Canada, you can click here and say, is it less than 1 year or 1 year or more? Now we are new to Canada and I do not have any work experience yet in Canada, so I'm going to say none. During this period, which National Occupation Classification, NOC, level is most of the experience in? So the work that you have done in Canada, in which NOC did it fall? If you do not have any Canadian experience during this period, please choose none of the above. So remember they said in the beginning, in the last 3 years. So they're looking specifically here in the last 3 years. So if you do not have any Canadian work experience during the last 3 years, please choose none of the above. If you do have experience in Canada, you will select which skill level. Otherwise, say none of the above and click Next. Now, in the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience do you have? It must have been continuous, paid, full-time, or an equal amount in part-time and in only one occupation. So this is now over the last 10 years. Please select. So you're going to say you had less than 1, 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, or 6 or more. Now remember, this is in the last 10 years. Then they say, in the last 5 years, do you have at least 2 years of experience in one of these types of jobs, skilled trades? So if you have, in the last 5 years, at least 2 years of experience in one of these knock codes, which is 72, 73, 82, 92, 632, or 633, then you need to fill in here how many years. So if you are not sure of the knock for your job, you can go to find your knock right here. And if you click on there, it will open up a new page and you can find your knock right over here. If you know your knock, you can complete this. So if you have in the last 5 years, at least 2 years of experience in one of the knocks above, you can click none, less than 2 years, or 2 years or more. So I have none, and we click on next. So if you want to make sure exactly how much money you would need to bring to Canada for your family size, you can go to proof of funds on canada.ca, and it will tell you exactly here the number of family members. If you're only one member, if it's only yourself, you need this amount of funds in Canadian dollars to be able to process your EE and come to Canada. If you're 2 members, 3 members, and so on. And then also if you're more than 7 members, for each additional family member, you would need $3,492. So we are a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids. So for our size family, we would need 24,083 Canadian dollars. You would need to have this in a bank account, and they do go back and look at your bank records for up to 6 months normally to see that somebody didn't add money to your account as a loan or just to get into the program. And if there is a big amount that came into your account, they are going to ask you where the money is coming from. So just be aware that you can't just quickly borrow some money from a friend or a family member and have it in your account and show that account to them, because they are going to request where you got the money from to make sure that you aren't just trying to play the system. So if you continue on your EE, you can see that how much money will you bring to Canada. And remember, we were in this bracket right over here. And you can also choose another one if you have another amount that you are bringing to Canada. Then they also want to know how many family members do you have. And that is now you included with your family. So in our case, it's myself, my husband, and 2 kids. And that would be 4. And click next. Do you have a valid job offer in Canada? Now, if you have a job offer already, you can say yes. If you do not, you can say no. And click next. Then they want to know your date of birth. You can select the year, the month, and the day. And then they want to know what is the highest level of education for which you have earned a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate, or have had an educational credential assessment, an ECA, and it must be from an approved agency in the last 5 years. So if you did not earn a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate, you may need to have your foreign education assessed by an agency approved by the IRCC, like WES, for instance. They must show that it is valid and equal to a completed Canadian credential. So you can select here. So you can select none, less than secondary, secondary, 1-year program, 2-year program, bachelor, 2 or more certificates, a master's degree, or a PhD. So you can select whatever you have completed and verified through an organization like WES. And then select Next. Then they want you to check all that apply. I have studied full-time in Canada for 2 years or more. I have at least 2 years of full-time work experience in Canada, and the job must have been in a NOC type 0 or a level A or B. I have a relative in Canada who is 18 years or older, a citizen or permanent resident of Canada, and is my parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, sibling, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, or none of the above. We unfortunately have none of the above, so you click that and then Next. What is your marital status? You can choose between married, legally separated, divorced, annulled, widowed, common law, or never married and single. So you can choose whichever is applicable to you and click Next. Does your spouse or partner plan to come with you to Canada? Yes or no? Is your spouse or partner a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? Yes or no? And then click Next. Has your spouse or partner studied in Canada full-time for 2 years or more? Yes or no? Has your spouse or partner worked in Canada full-time for 1 year or more? And click Next. Then has your spouse or partner taken an English or French language test? Now this is not for you, this is for your partner. So you can say none or whichever test they have taken. Select the test they have taken. You can select the year, the month, and the day of the test. Then enter the test score for your partner for speaking, for listening, for reading, and for writing, and click Next. So then you will get your results. So in my case, because of my age and not having currently a job in Canada, I appear not to be eligible for the express entry. But there are other ways to immigrate. So you can try to look at the Come to Canada wizard if you think you may be eligible under another federal immigration program. And if you are still interested in coming to Canada as a skilled immigrant, you can take steps to improve your eligibility to apply for the express entry. And you can always do it at a later date and make the changes to your profile. So for example, you can improve on your language score, or you can gain a higher level of education. Or if you have a job in Canada, then you can add that to your profile. So you may also consider applying directly to the provinces or territories through the provincial nominee program. So you can also look at that. And however, you can still complete an express entry profile so that the Canadian government have your profile on their system. To be accepted into the pool, you must first demonstrate that you meet the minimum criteria for express entry. So to apply online, you will need this personal reference code, and then you can say continue. So now they will ask you more information about your personal profile. So like here they want to know your last name, your first name, your gender. They have some of the details that you've already inserted, like the date of birth. They have that already. But you can complete the family name, your first name or names, your gender, so you can choose between those. And then ensure that you did provide the correct birth date and say next. Then they're going to ask what is your marital status? So you can say married. Next. Will this person accompany you to Canada? Yes or no? Next. What is your spouse or common law partner's last name and their first name or names? And then please select their gender and then their birth date, the month and the day, and click next. And then you'll see complete your online application by choosing a section below. You should review your application before you send it to make sure that it is complete and accurate. So now they're going to ask you about all of your personal information, your contact details, your study and language results, your application details, any representative, your work history, as well as for your partner. You can complete all of these, or you can save and exit. You can go through all of this, personal details, start form. So now they ask you about the name on your passport. It must be exactly as it is on your passport or your travel document or national identity document that you're going to use to enter Canada. So ensure that your last name is spelled exactly as it is in the document, as well as your first names. And then click next. Then they confirm the gender and your birth date, and they want to know your country of birth, as well as insert your city or town of birth. Click next. Your marital status is married. Next. Then the ID that you're going to use. And in most cases, you will be using a passport. But if you do not have a passport, then you need to tell them what other identification document you're going to use. So now you are entering the details on your passport. They're going to ask you if you have a passport or a national ID document, yes or no. And then they're going to ask you what type of document it is. So you can click here. And is it a passport or a travel document or a national identity document? So it's passport. And then you need to insert the document number, that is your passport number, exactly as it is shown on the document. So make sure that you do it exactly. Then the country of issue, the date it was issued, the year, the month, and the day, and then also when it expires, the year, the month, and the day, and click Save and Add. So here you will see the document is loaded with all the documentation detail, and you can modify it or you can delete this row and you can change it if you need to. And then click Next. Then they want to know if you've applied to the IRCC before. So you need to say yes or no. And this include any previous applications to Canada, countries of citizenship, and the country where you currently live. So have you applied to the IRCC before, yes or no? And then have you applied for an express entry before, yes or no? And if you have a UCI, please enter it below. Now this is a unique client identifier. And here it states, this is the client identification number, the client ID, that is an official document you get from the IRCC. It has 8 or 10 numbers, example 4-4 or 2-4-4 numbers in a row. If you are applying for the first time, you will not have a UCI yet. But if you have a work visa or a study permit or anything like that, you will definitely have a UCI number. Now you can find that on your work permit or your study visa, and you just insert that UCI number right over here. And there are no dashes, so it's just the numbers following each other. and then it's going to say your country or countries of citizenship, and then your country of residence. So if you are currently in Canada, you choose Canada. If you are currently still in another country, then you choose that one. And then say next. And then they say they want to know some information about your family. So tell us about your family. How many family members do you have? So this includes yourself, a spouse or a partner, and dependent children, and their dependent children. And this is for all kids up to the age of 22. So if you click here, they will tell you that include yourself, your spouse and partner, and any children that you have, even if your spouse, partner or children will not come to Canada. Do not include your parents or any other relatives. So this is just your immediate family. If you have no spouse or partner or any dependent children, put 1. So that then it will only be you're a family of 1. It's only yourself. Otherwise, you include the whole family. And then how much money in Canadian dollars will you be able to bring to Canada to support your family? So you include there the amount that you would be able to bring, and then say next. And then they want to know if you have a relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada. Now, the relative must be 18 or older and living in Canada as a citizen or permanent resident. So select yes or no. And then if you're happy with all of your answers, you can say save and exit. And then you will see that under your profile, your personal details is now status complete. And the rest of them are still saying not started. So now you can move on to the next form to complete that. This is quite a lengthy process, but it is good to go through it and have it ready for whenever you have enough points. You can just update the sections that you need to update, and maybe with the next draw you are in the lucky group. So language or correspondence is English or French. You can choose which one. Click next. Provide an email address below where correspondence can be sent. Correspondence will be sent to your account. However, we may need to send correspondence by email. Indicating an email address will authorize correspondence, including file and personal information, to be sent to this email address when needed. So make sure you supply the correct email address, because you do not want to miss a communication if that can mean that you can maybe come to Canada. And click save and exit. Then you'll see that also has a status of complete. So move through all of these sections and complete the information as they request. So the question is, have you finished high school or any higher education, including university, college, or vocational training? And you can say yes or no. And then it will say your field of study. So you can choose which applies to your study. And then they want to know since what year and what month. And then if this is your current study or not. If you're currently doing this, or if you've done this years ago, yes or no. And then they ask you until when did you study, the year and the month. And then complete full academic years. How many years did you complete? Was it a part-time or full-time? And then standing at the end of the study period. So were you in good standing but no certificate or diploma or degree awarded? Certificate or diploma or degree awarded or not completed. So you can choose which one works for you. Then your country of study, where did you complete your studies? And then the city or town where you studied, the name of the institution, and then the level of education. And was this person awarded a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate for this period of study? Yes or no. So that is a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate. And then had an ECA A within the past 5 years of your degree, diploma or certificate. So if you've done your educational credential assessment through WES or one of the other organizations, you can say yes here. And then it will ask which organization you used. So that's all the ones that you can use. I used WES, which is the World Education Services Organization. And then they want to know when it was done. So the date of your ECA report. So the year, month, and the day. ECA certificate number. So that is your reference number that you got from the ECA. Insert that right over here. And if you're happy that you've inserted it correctly, you can go to the level of education and then save and add. So you will see that it is now loaded under your educational history. And then you can say next. Then it's the knowledge of official language. Can you communicate in English and or French? So you can click down and say English, French, both or neither. Select the ones that apply to you. And then the official language assessment. Now this you have already completed, so just make sure that all the information they have in here is correct, that you didn't maybe miss something. So they ask you if you've taken an approved language test, and then the language test that you took, and then the language test version. It must be the general training one for immigration purposes. And then the date that it was taken, and then the date of the test results. And this you will find on your IELTS test report form. All the information will be there. And then it says language test results form or certificate number. It's a very long number, so make sure that you provide them with the correct one. And it has quite a bit of information in there. You will see that it's part of your name, your candidate number, the year you wrote it. So it already provides quite a bit of information just in the number. And then make sure that your test scores are correct. If you have another language test for French, you can include it here. Save and exit. And that's another one ticked off the list. Then they want the application details. So they say, which provinces or territories would you consider living in? Now, if you click a specific one here, none of the other provinces can see your profile. So maybe a good idea is to say all provinces and territories if you don't really mind to stay in any of them, but at least then they all have access to your profile, and if they need you, they can get a hold of you. Otherwise, if you select just a specific province or territory, that is the only one that can see your profile or your application. So if you are open to any of them, by all means click all provinces and territories. It depends on how eager you are to come to Canada. And then you need to authorize them to access your profile. Say yes or no that you authorize them to disclose the information to the provinces. And then there's a specific one for Ontario EE as well. So you need to say yes or no and then click next. And then they ask if you have received a nomination certificate from a province or territory. And you would say yes or no right here and then save and exit. And then a representative. Start form. An applicant can appoint a person to do business with the IRCC on their behalf. So if you're working through an immigration person, organization, or a lawyer, or anybody like that, you can include them here. If you are doing this on your own, you can say no and then save and exit. And then the work history. Now here they ask you for the primary occupation, the 4-digit NOC code. So this means the job that you have experience in and wants to base your immigration application on. This is how we will determine your eligibility for federal programs. You will need to know the job title and the NOC for the primary occupation and for any other jobs you add, as well as for any job offer. So go and find your knock code. If you don't know it already, click here and go and find it. And then if you do, you can just include it right over here. And it will insert it automatically. And then they ask, which date did you first become qualified to practice in this occupation? So if you qualified as a doctor or a lawyer, then that would be when you got your degree. And then you'll see that if the primary occupation is one of these knock codes right here, the qualified trade codes, then this is the date they became qualified to practice on their own in Canada. So make sure that it is in Canada. It's not when you were back home and you qualified, it is specifically in Canada. And then for any other job this is the date they first obtained the minimum education or training stated in the knock description. Note if the knock only states high school, this is the date they graduated. So insert the year and month you became qualified and click next. Then they want to know if you have a certificate or qualification from a Canadian province or territory. If you do have, then just click yes, otherwise it's no. Click next. Do you have a job offer in Canada? The offer must be for full-time and for a full year, and it must meet different requirements depending on the type of job. So if you need apprenticeship or a certificate, and then it must be non-seasonal for federal skilled workers. So if you have a job here, you can just say yes, otherwise, if you're still looking, say no and click next. And then they want your work history, so you can complete all of that. And once you've completed it, it will bring all the history down here where it says work history. It will give you all the information there. If you've done that, click next. And then they have some research questions, and you can either participate or not. It is totally up to you. So they say the following questions are about your education and work experience recognition in Canada. The IRCC will only use this information for research, performance, measurement, or evaluation purposes, and not to make a decision about your profile or application. Your answers are important and will help improving employment services. So they ask, do you agree to answer these questions? And you can say yes or no. Have you looked for a job in Canada in your primary occupation? What best describes the last action you took? So they want to know, yes, I have done some research to find a job in Canada. Yes, I have applied to jobs in Canada. Yes, I have an offer in Canada. I'm already working in Canada in my primary occupation. No, I have not looked for a job in Canada. No, I do not plan to work in Canada. So choose which one fits you best. I am currently applying for jobs in Canada. Have you checked to see if your education and work experience in your primary occupation would be accepted in Canada? Yes or no? And then with whom did you check? Did you check with an employer when I applied for a job, work-related or professional organization, school, friends, relatives, a host or a sponsor, immigration or visa officer, a federal or provincial government department or service, an immigration lawyer or consultant, and an organization that provides settlement or immigrant employment services. So you can choose which one applies to you. Where did you get more information from? Some jobs are regulated in Canada. You would need a license or certification to practice these jobs. Do you know if your primary occupation or trade is regulated? So you can say yes, no, I don't know, and then click Save and Exit. And because I haven't completed all my work history or added any specific work history, it still says in progress. So you can complete all of these as well as personal details, study and languages, and work history for your partner. It is the exact same questions as they asked you. And then when you're done with all of that, you can say Save and Exit. And if you've completed everything and everything is green here for both you and your partner, you can submit the form. And just to quickly show you, if you log in again, if you have saved and exit your profile or your EE application, when you log in again to your profile, you will see that there is a continue an application you haven't submitted. And there sits the express entry. It says the date you created it, how many days you have left, because you only have 60 days to complete it and to submit it. And then the last day you saved it, and then you can continue your profile or delete your profile. Don't do the delete by mistake. Make sure that you click on continue profile and not delete. And if you need to add or update anything, just go to continue profile and it will bring up all your information again, and you can add something or change it and make sure that it is 100% correct as per your documentation, and then submit it to the government. So great, once you've completed everything is there and it's done, and you can say continue. And then you'll see there's a declaration that you can go through. Make sure that you say you agree and I agree to consent. Click on those. And then you agree by submitting the application that you've given everything and everything is correct. Fill in your given name and your last name, and then your security question, and then sign, and there you go. You have signed it. You've confirmed I agree, and now you agree that they can use your profile, and there you go. Congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application. So I hope this was helpful to you. It is a long process. You do need to complete a lot of information, but this is your first step to get to Canada. So make sure that you have your profile ready. As soon as you've completed your IELTS or your ECA, complete it on your profile, and when everything is ready, submit it to the government, and you can maybe get invited and take the next step to your PR. All the best to all of you, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I will respond to you and help you as far as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.